Hello, good evening, and welcome to FPL Happy Hour Last Orders. And we're live. There we go. I got the intro right this time.
This time.
My name is Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda, and I'm joined by. Do you want to introduce yourself this week?
Oh, well, it's me back again. James, thanks for having me back again, Rob. Sham's somewhere in the forest, or the forest is somewhere in Sham.
Yeah, he's still wandering around in the woods.
So, yeah, you're stuck with me for another week, so we can at least talk a little bit of sense this week before he comes back.
That's questionable whether we talk any sense, to be fair. Well, first things first, because we recorded on Monday night and finished at like half time of the West Ham Leicester game. How did your game week finish?
Disastrously. Harvey Barnes, well, Iosi Perez decided to get himself sent off, and then I don't think Leicester stood a chance from then. And then I think the ownership of one of Antonio or Ben Rama seems like everyone seemed to have at least one, if not two of them. So I think when we spoke, I was 1.9 million in the world, and I finished
You,
2.3 million.
yeah, you're still a green arrow, just or not?
Yeah, the green arrow of 200,000 places, so we can't
Oh,
complain. We
yeah,
can't complain.
200k rank rise. Yeah, you just need another like 20 of them.
12, 12 weeks, and I'll be top 10k, and then we'll pretend I'm an expert.
Yeah. Yeah, my week. I benched Sufal for his 5-pointer. I had Antonio obviously for his 16 points, but yeah, it turned into a red arrow. Yeah, 68 points in the end, which was below the top 1k average, and so down to 746k. But it's a long season. There's still
It
36 game
certainly
weeks
is.
to go. So I think it's getting to that point now where you get a lot of people knee jerking the wild card, sort of game week 3, game week 4.
I thought about it this week.
And then, yeah, I think it's about who picks the right time to wild card, sort of on these next few fixture swings that occur, sort of around game week 6, 7, and then in sort of 11, 12. So I think that will probably be the big movement part, but hopefully I have a plan to get myself through it. Right. I don't even know what we're supposed to talk about next.
What's the
What's
next slide? Go to that.
what's been going on in the news this week? So we talked about Sir Daniel of Ings the other day, and Sir Harry of Kane has announced
Yeah,
that he's staying at Spurs, and he's got a brace tonight, hasn't he? Well, I think the game's just finished now, hasn't it? So yeah,
it certainly has.
brace tonight against who did you call them before we came on?
Ferrero Rocher,
Yeah,
Pacos de Ferreira. As everyone's saying, he scored a brace against the lower mid-table Portuguese team. It's hardly an exciting night, but I think it's probably what he needed. I saw the Spurs fans were singing his name again and said he's one of their own. So I think he'll be glad to get that off his back before he plays on the weekend. So we're hoping in front of a full stadium against Watford that we might see the hurricane of old.
hmm. Yeah. It'll be. I'm going to make this image a bit bigger for people. Don't know why it's gone small. Yeah, it was going to be interesting to see and how Spurs line, because effectively it's going to be like back to full strength, and how Nuno lines them up to try and get the best out of Kane and Son, and who drops out of Mora or Bergwijn on the other
Absolutely.
side. Does Ali still have his sort of more advanced role that he was great in before, or will that be a problem with how Kane likes to play dropping deep? And I think that's
Yeah,
where
it'd be interesting.
why Mourinho didn't like playing Ali, other than the fact he didn't like Ali. I think because he felt that Kane was quite a threat, even dropping deep and letting the two wide forwards sort of come inside a bit more. So be interesting to
Yeah.
see.
And I think Nuno's preference, looking back at Wolves as well, was always that 4-3-3 anyway, compared to the 4-2-3-1. So you may be right that Ali's place comes under threat, unless he's going to push him back into a midfield three with Højbjerg and Skip, because it looks like Sissoko and then Ndombele might be out the door at Tottenham before the end of the transfer window. I think that window closes on Tuesday,
isn't it? 31st.
Yeah,
Tuesday night.
yeah.
Yeah, old what's his name? Will have his yellow tie out. Right, who's in the chat this evening? Well, before we go into the chat, and the other big news that's sort of broken in the last sort of 48 hours is my former beloved Cristiano Ronaldo could be on his way to the Premier League to join that other team, the team in
the
blue.
wrong side of Manchester.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I mean, it's great for FPL. The amount of premium assets we're going to have to pick from.
Yeah, as I said
for
before we
those that
came
are
on,
in
I
the
was trying
chat,
to work out.
stick in how much you think Cristiano Ronaldo will be in FPL. I think we both agreed around 13, didn't we?
I'll be shocked if he's any less than 13. I'll be shocked. I don't know what was the highest price we've ever seen for an FPL asset. Does anybody know that? That'd be a good question.
Wasn't Salah?
He's sure.
Well, how much was Ronaldo first time round? There you go. Those in the chat, get your get on the internet.
I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can find out.
Yeah,
2000. See if I can find out.
2008, or 2008, 2009. How much was Ronaldo? I think Van Persie in the second season he was at United was pretty high up as well.
Here we go. I've got a fancy Premier League Reddit page up about highest prices ever. The highest price ever has been 14 million shared between Ronaldo, Henry, and RVP. And at one point, Steven Gerrard got there in a season.
14 million. Well, there we go. I don't think he'll be that much. But yeah, he'll be. I think 13 would be a fair price for him. Right, who's in the chat? We've got Paul, FPL Glasto, evening mate. Fadsley, evening. FPL Penguin, Flying Dutchman, all in the chat there. And there's a few others that just haven't spoken yet. Yeah, if you get your questions in throughout, towards the end, we'll run through them all. We'll go through all the questions. We're just going to do a couple of bits beforehand, just to go through the upcoming game week, Gameweek 3. Let's have a quick look at the ownership as it stands. Benrahma's jumped up to 22% in the last few days from, I think he was like 12%. Luke Shaw down to 50.9. He's still so highly owned for what he is. Bruno,
I think Benrahma's due another price increase as well tonight, is what I've seen as well. With that
good
ownership.
For those that got on him nice and early.
Yeah, don't know who that would have been. I'm sure we'll find out later. So I was just looking at this pricing again. So when we look at strikers, Suarez and Aguero at their peak at the start of the season, the highest they've ever been is 13.5. So I can't see anything. I can see 13.5 at the absolute tops for Ronaldo.
I wouldn't be surprised. Let's be honest.
And we'll all have him, even at that price.
There'll be the man. You go say 13, and then there's the Man City tax on him, so 13.5. Right. Well, let's talk about our teams before the carnage.
Do we have to?
The end of the transfer window goes. We've got a fairly normal week. So just let's have a look at your team, how you're lining up. Then is this settled in? Is this locked and ready to go for the weekend?
This is it will just be a case of if I'm confident enough to leave Harry Kane as captain. Except for that is my 2 free transfers that I'd saved up used. So that was I did a swap of my premiums. So Kane is coming in for Salah, and Ben Rama is coming for Ivan Toney. So that gives me another 500,000 that I'm just putting away in the bank for over the international break with my one transfer I'll now have, but it may become two with a -4. But yeah, I think all but set in. If I'm not happy with Kane as captain last minute, then it probably will just go to Son. But after what we've seen tonight and the fact he played a full 90 minutes tonight, I can't see there being any reason why he doesn't start on Sunday. And being given the captain's armband makes me think that his place is pretty locked back up now. I did worry a little bit making the transfer earlier that Nuno might try and gradually build him back in, but I think Tottenham know how good a player he is, quite obviously. So
And they've had
throwing
a,
him back in,
I think where they've had a good start to the season as well. It keeps that positive note, doesn't it? Like, and trying to get
yeah,
rid of any negativity that's there, because that's the only thing that's been negative about Spurs' start of the season has been what's gone on off the field. They've played twice, they've won both games, they haven't conceded, and things are looking up in White Hart Lane. Um,
absolutely.
we'll see
And
how long for though.
I had to move to Ben Rama because it feels like everyone is now moving to him. And I was just having a look because I saw what a question in the chat about is anybody due a price rise. From what I can see online tonight, we should see Ben Rama, Livramento, and Antonio move up again in price. And uh, a certain Chelsea striker is the next man due a price rise at night. He's at 97.5%, and he needs to make it to 100 for a price rise. So maybe Lukaku's up by the weekend for people looking to bring him in. Except for that, it's all pretty standard players. I mean, the one that interests me is David Raya might get a price increase on the weekend. That's interesting. Do they not know he's coming up against Lord Danny of the Ings? But we'll leave that.
He's-
We'll leave that. Yeah. So that's my team going forward. I had the intention of just using one transfer, but the fact that John Stones is supposedly not fit again for Man City, or Man City are playing Laporte to try and get him in the shop window, I don't know. My plan all along when I built this team was to just bring Ivan Toney out Gameweek 3, and John Stones would have gone in off the bench, and then I would have just played around with the one transfer to save myself two. But with the fact John Stones isn't playing has kind of forced my hand for the second transfer. And with those fixtures Harry Kane's got at 12.3, if he has two good games, then I'm hoping I'll catch a bit of a price increase on him again. And the money is more than welcome at this point.
I think, yeah, with, as I said, with the wild card sort of flying around, Harry Kane, I think with that announcement yesterday, it's just meant that more people are aware to bring him in instead of Lukaku for this week, because he's pretty much nailed. Probably on paper is the best captaincy option by a fair way. Whilst Lukaku has got that tougher fixture. What have I done
Yeah,
this week?
definitely.
I've been really boring. So when Dia looked like dropping the other night, Ben Rama was going up. I did Dia to Ben Rama on the pod. I did say that I felt that Dia was like one of my sort of flagged players at the moment who I didn't wasn't really fancying. So made that move. At the moment, yeah, I'm lined up with Sanchez, TAA, Shaw, Sufal, Bruno, who on the screenshot is my captain, but it'll probably be Antonio, Barnes, Salah, Benrahma, Ings, Antonio, Tony, with Gilmore, Simicas, and Veltman on the bench. I'm torn between whether to roll the transfer, do Tony to Armstrong, do Barnes to a little punt on Dele Alli, or I could just do as Liveramento's going up tonight, Simicast to Livermento, just to catch that price rise and then that's kind of sorted. The Simicast issue. I'm just torn between it at the moment, whether kind of might just sit and work out sort of what value I'm getting from any of those transfers, or is it better just to sit on that second free transfer and roll it over again? So that's how I line
Yeah,
up this week. Um,
I think you're safer with the two going into the international window. As I said, that was my plan all along because
hmm.
those 2 weeks could be a long 2 weeks, and obviously, I still don't think we've had complete clarification on this quarantining issue. I know they've said they're not going to release them, but I can't see that FIFA are going to take that
they're not
lying
they're not
down.
going to
And
like it. Yeah,
no, and I
and
think that might create another headache for managers.
yeah,
Um,
there hasn't really
coming
been.
out,
Well, I haven't seen any reaction from FIFA to this yet.
no,
But most of the squads are only announced today. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we'll see what happens. I know that players like Salah, for example, Egypt play their first game in an amber country, and then their second game in a red country. So he's going to go. He will travel to play the first game.
yeah. They're playing Gabon first up, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we can go
and
to
then his
that and then come
second
back.
game he'll miss the second game and come back. I mean, I can see the view from the club side. I think, yeah, players like Salah, who in that time that he'd be out, I think Liverpool do play City and United in that
Yeah,
couple of weeks. So it's big, like big if he
yeah,
misses out.
definitely.
It's either in this international break or the next one. But then from the nation's point of view, and probably for some of the players, like um, yeah, for a team like Egypt, a World Cup qualifier is a huge, huge deal for them.
Yeah,
Um,
and
so
and
and
someone like Rafinha, obviously his first call up for
for
Brazil, and
Brazil,
now they're probably not going to let him go and things like that. I think it's such a complex issue that
yeah,
I don't think there's a right answer to it, is there?
no, like I can see, yeah, from a club's point of view, I'm like for United, we're quite well, we'd be getting rid of Fred for a bit, which could help. But then like players like Eric Bailly, yeah, send him out, let him go, and let him get some minutes in his legs, like because he'll go and
Yeah,
start um, for Ivory Coast, and it's like, yeah, just let that let that happen. But it's the players that and nations that are like desperate for these players to play for them. And I think for Brazil, I think they play Argentina and Uruguay in that international break. And Cavani has already turned around and said he's not happy about um, not being allowed to go and represent his country or
right.
being denied the chance to go and represent his country. And there'll be other. He's publicly said it. There'll be other players out there that will publicly come out and say it as well. I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of things happening in the yeah, Fadley's just said in the chat, as United fans, I don't mind Fred going into nationals and miss a few games. Neither do I, Fadley.
Well,
Neither do I.
it's interesting you say that because isn't now the second best Scottish midfielder in the league behind John McGinn out for a couple of weeks? Scott McTominay, is he? Sorry, he had to have surgery today on a long-standing groin issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that thought with that I thought, oh, Van der Beek's in then, but it looks like it'd be Van der Beek and Matic
Unless Pogba drops back to give
unless Pogba
Sancho
drops in.
space.
Yeah. It'll be. I
Yeah, that's
think it'll be
what.
interesting to see on Sunday afternoon how United line up. Right. Let's move on. Um, Free hit teams.
Oh, are we running through last week's results first, or do you not want to go over that?
Well, I know what did your team get in the end?
76. I want to say you've put me on the spot there.
76. I got my team got 72.
So that's a win. That's a win for me, just to clarify.
I didn't put I should have put the screenshots up. Right, let's talk through. So for those that haven't watched yet this season, Each week, I pick a free hit team, so to the value of 100 million, and either Sham or James, whoever's on, will pick a team to the value of 100 million for that game week only. And to make sure now that it's 100 million, I did some work on a spreadsheet to because I turned around to do mine today and my team value was like going to be like 98.6 compared
Sorry,
to
what did you say you got last week?
72.
Oh, I only got 74. That makes me feel a little bit better.
So James, talk us through who you have picked in your free hit team for this week. Probably
Yeah.
sack off the bench. We don't need to talk about the bench.
No, I chose the bench on purpose to have as much money as possible. So starting from back to front, I went with the logic that I'm going to use all season on these free hit teams. What teams playing Norwich, and that will be my goalkeeper. So Kasper Schmeichel in goal for Leicester. A back three. I think I was looking to be a little bit more attacking here. I wanted to see if I could maybe get some attacking returns from my defenders because I know both Shimikas and Diaz got me some attacking returns last week. So along the same ilk, I've gone with Matty Cash of Aston Villa against Brentford, and maybe a little bit biased, but I feel like his long throw-ins against Brentford, much that came from the Danny Ings bicycle kick for the Tyrone Mings flick on. I think those could be a weapon again for us. And I like the way Matty Cash gets up and down, especially if it's going to be. Well, I'm not sure yet. I would presume Matt Targett might come back in at left back, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was Ashley Young on the other side. The second defender I've gone with is Regulion.
Serge, just call him Serge.
Yeah, that bloke from Tottenham that used.
Reguilon. We'll go with
Yeah,
that.
the bloke from Tottenham that used to play for Real Madrid. I've gone with him once again against Watford. I think Watford looked poor against Brighton. As I said, I think they kind of caught Aston Villa short on game week one. I think you saw a bit more of what kind of team Watford are going to be against Brighton. So I think there's a good chance of a clean sheet there. And then my third defender is Kyle Walker. Obviously playing Arsenal, who can't score, can't defend, can't really do a lot at the moment, Arsenal. And I know they put 6 past West Brom in midweek, but it's West Brom, and I say that as a Villa fan, so I'm allowed to say that. So those are my 3 across the back of my goalkeeper. Moving into the midfield, I've belatedly gone with Bruno. He still hasn't made the light of day in my normal team, and I'm trying my hardest not to have him in my normal team out of principle. So Bruno against Wolves, Rafinha against Burnley. I think we saw what a goal he scored against Everton last week, and I think he looked really sharp for Leeds. And the way Burnley play, Leeds are going to smother them, be all over them. I think he had 5 shots against Everton last week, and I think if Burnley give him that kind of space, I mean, he's going to be up against. I don't even know who plays right back anymore for Burnley. I was about to say Phil Bardsley. Loughton. Of course, Matt Loughton, formerly of Aston Villa. I should have known that. The third midfielder was Said Benrahma. I think if I hadn't gone with him after Monday night's performance, then I would have been a little bit silly. I think against Palace, it's another good opportunity for West Ham to get some goals. They've got the highest. They must have the most goals and the highest XG of all the teams now.
Probably.
I mean, they've scored 4 and 3, 4 and 4.
An XG of 4.7.
Yeah,
Liverpool are better.
Oh, okay.
4.9.
Well, they're not far behind Liverpool, and that's not a bad spot to be in for West Ham. So against a Crystal Palace team that I still think are in a bit of transition, thought was a good option. And then my final midfielder is Mason Greenwood. I would presume he's going to be back up front on Sunday. As we discussed earlier, it looks like Pogba might have to drop into the midfield, we think, if Sancho is going to come in. So I can't see Cavani being back. I may be wrong on that. Cavani on the bench, you would think.
Give him a game before the international break.
Wow, yeah, exactly. Well, Greenwood hasn't been called up to the England squad, has he? So
No, yeah.
Mason needs a game before we go, and then the front three semi-pick themselves really. Antonio on form again, much like Benrahma for Palace. Sir Harry Kane comes into the team against Watford, and the final pick was Jamie Vardy against Norwich. I think Vardy hasn't really started the season as we thought he would, but if there's a game that you could see Jamie Vardy scoring a hat trick in and kind of running the game, I think it'll be that. And I think with Perez's red card, I think the talk is Leicester might go to a 4-4-2 and playing alongside Daka or Iheanacho might just give that Norwich defence something else to think about alongside Vardy. So yeah, that is my 3-hit team this week to hopefully make it 3 wins from 3 in the 3-hit teams.
All right. Well, I've gone very well. There's a few similar names. So let's just say, so I've the same players. I've got Reguilon as well. I've got Bruno. I've got Benrahma. I've got Greenwood. I've got Antonio, and I've captained Kane as well. But I've got Lloris in goal against Watford to go with Reguilon, so to double up on that Spurs defence against Watford. I've gone Wan-Bissaka in there. I think like Varane will start, and I think I'm really hoping it's more of a hope than think that we might see the start of a good partnership defensively between him and Maguire, and I think that having Varane in there, I think could make Wan-Bissaka an even better player defensively. I mean, he's brilliant defensively as it is, but yeah, hopefully make it even better at the back. And then I've gone with Luke Ayling. I'm more banking on the clean sheet from him against Burnley. I needed a 4.5 to stick in there. So yeah, he was the one. I've gone with Jack Grealish over your Rafinha
Again.
in the midfield. I think I mean, he's been brilliant in the 2 games he's played for City so far. He got his goal as well.
Yes.
I can see, yeah, him having a lot of joy down that left-hand side against this Arsenal defence that just look. I mean, in the first half against Chelsea, it could have been a cricket score. Like,
Yep.
it honestly could have. And they did settle down though in the second half. Or did Chelsea back off a little bit? I don't know. But I'm backing.
Lukaku wanted mercy
Yeah.
after a while.
I'm backing Jack Grealish to pick out a return again, and I've gone to join Jack Grealish. I've gone with Gabriel Jesus, who was brilliant against.
Sorry, just talking of Man City strikers. 4 minutes ago, Cristiano Ronaldo has officially told Juventus he wants to leave, and talks with Man City are beginning to happen in the next few hours.
Fuck.
There we go. So next week,
he's not going to be playing on Saturday, so it's okay.
so next week our 3-hit teams will both have Ronaldo as captain, and we'll go from there.
So yeah, I've gone Gabriel Jesus, who was brilliant on Saturday. I'm going to back him again to cause some havoc. I think it's the fact that he can, like we saw the creative side from him on Saturday.
Playing out on the wing as well, which
Yeah.
I thought was interesting. Obviously, he said he'd done it with Brazil before, but never at City. But they've been trying to get a striker all summer, and then they've decided to start playing a striker at right wing where they've already got 7 of them.
And then the right winger in the middle.
Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? But if what I've just said's correct, they won't be without a striker for much longer.
No. Yeah, so I've gone with Gabriel Jesus to hopefully do better than Vardy from your team. So yeah, fingers crossed. I can get one back to make it 2-1, and maybe close that 41-point gap up to like maybe 35 points or something. um,
We'll
but yeah, so
see.
there's
I'm sorry. I was just looking at this Ronaldo thing. The people I follow in Italy for the Serie A said he won't now travel with the Portugal squad for the international break next week to ensure that he's ready for a move because
to
he hasn't
Premier
played. Well,
League.
he came on for what 5 minutes the other night in the Serie A and had a goal disallowed. But yeah, he hasn't had a lot of build up, so it looks like he won't travel with Portugal as well if that deal goes through. So, game week 4 for Man City is Leicester. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll see Ronaldo. We'll see Ronaldo at the King Power then on Saturday the 11th. That could be
Right.
interesting.
So next up, right, we'll go through some questions whilst we have a quick look at the game week fixtures and maybe make some predictions. Well, let's start off with Man City versus Arsenal. I'm going to grab a first question.
Yeah. Man City versus Arsenal. Obviously, the early kickoff on Saturday. Man City at home. I think. Oh, I'm going 3-0 Man City.
I think
That's being
I think
generous.
it'll either be like 2-0 Man City or it'll be 5-0 Man City. I think it's one of
Yeah.
those where if they do what Chelsea did and kind of lay off a bit, or Arsenal kind of tighten up a little bit more, then it'll be 2-0. But if they just go for the throat, then um, yeah, they'll just. I think that's what we
Yeah.
saw of them against Norwich. Kind of just they were brilliant to watch, and if they continue that sort of way they play into play against Arsenal, then we're going to see goals, goals, goals.
Yeah.
Right, first
Definitely.
question from Padgley. Hey, on wildcard in Game Week 4, which 3 out of this 5 should I include in my wildcard? Kane, Lukaku, Bruno, Salah, Son.
Ronaldo. And after that, if sorry, when was he looking to the
Game Week
wild card? I'm just trying.
Game Week 4.
Game week 4, so you're probably a bit early on that Chelsea and the United, Chelsea and the City fixture swings. But yeah, I think the Lukaku could be the one. Oh, that's a tough one so early. I think we're saying that if Ronaldo does turn up at Man City, don't matter who he's playing, what week, we're all going to have him. So I think him,
Kane. I think,
Kane,
yeah, the
Kane,
Palace fixture and then the Arsenal fixture. Like he scores against Arsenal. The only problem is that
yeah, and then
Chelsea
after.
fixture.
Yeah, and then he's got Villa and Newcastle to 8, and then from there you could move across to Lukaku because Lukaku's run starts in 8 on that easier fixture. Yeah, you could possibly look at Ronaldo, Kane, and I guess you'd have to go Bruno over Salah just for that 500,000 saving because you're probably going to need that in the rest of your team if you're
Hmm.
looking at those two up front and a premium midfielder. I think there could be a case with Man United's games being so tough that you could actually maybe not have a premium midfielder and could maybe go for 3 up top.
I
And
think I
I
could.
don't know.
I've got a feeling we could see a few teams out there with Lukaku, Kane, Ronaldo as a front
I
three.
think it would, and I think it'd be doable because you could still have your Man United coverage, but you just maybe move
You'd
off
fill your
Bruno to.
midfield with like 6 and 7s, and like Pogba is great
Yeah,
value.
you could,
That's your
or
United cover
Greenwood,
there, and Greenwood.
Greenwood to cover Fernandez. I know he's not going to. He probably hasn't got the same amount of points in him, but I think you could more than adequately cover yourself if you're then going to. I mean, a front three of Kane, Lukaku, Ronaldo is beyond scary. That could be 60 points most weekends before you even start.
Right. While I look for the next question, Villa versus Brentford. Give us your
Oh,
verdict.
well, easy win then, isn't it? No,
Easy.
I'm not going to. I
Is
better
it a
not say
banana
that
skin, do you
because
think, for Villa?
I don't think it's banana skin. I think I know you can't read a lot into the cup competition midweek, but it was a good uplifting win against Barrow. A lot of the second team. I think Brentford ended up playing a half and half team in their game against Forest Green. I think at the moment with Villa, especially with it being at home again, there just seems to be that feel good factor around the club again. And I thought it would take longer to turn back up after Grealish left, but I think last week helped, and I'd be shocked if we didn't get another win. And if you offered me 6 points from 9 at the international break, I think a lot of Villa fans would have been happy. I don't think 9 from 9 was out of reach, but I think we've got to be realistic. 6 from 9, we're not going to complain, and we'll move on. So I'm going to say, feel like this. I know I've taken him out of my team, but I feel like this could be the week that Ivan Toney breaks his ducks. I think it could be 2-1 Villa, and I think Danny Ings might fancy 2 this week, and then we'll start to knight him and every other award. He's an
give him the keys to the whole end.
NBA.
NBA.
Yeah, give him the key. Give him the keys to Birmingham. He probably doesn't want those, to be fair, but yeah, no, I think 2-1. I think 2-1 or 3-1 if I'm being optimistic. I think Brentford might nick a goal against us.
Right, let's have a look. Lots of
comments. There's a strange gent in the chat by the name Sham. Don't know. Don't know if you know him.
FPL Penguin says Armstrong won to watch this week. Actually, Ronaldo is bigger than City, but United is bigger than Ronaldo. Yeah, probably. The Flying Dutchman, you're setting the wild card next week. I'll go with Bruno, Kane, or Son, and Salah if possible. I think we've kind of said maybe.
Son's not a bad option as well because he's 2 million less than Bruno and a 2.5 less than Salah. So
yeah.
you know, two premium strikers, and then Son would definitely give you some room. Then you might even be able to,
instead of having Lukaku there, you could cover yourself with like Havertz or something like that in midfield.
Yeah, definitely.
Fine Dutchman. Salah against Leeds is kind of a must. Yeah, probably. I imagine Ronaldo costing 12 considering his age. I think 12 would be a bargain. I think that's too cheap. I think
he can't be less. He can't be less than Kane, can he? He's got to come in at 12. He's got to come in at 12.5 minimum for me. But saying that, I thought Lukaku might be a little bit more, so they might be generous and give us Ronaldo at 12.
Fadgley, Vardy or Son captain? So Vardy away to Norwich or Son at home to Watford?
Oh, Son with Harry Kane back. Feel like Son and Harry Kane might have one of those games on Sunday, like they did against, was it Southampton early on last year, where they got about 4 assists and 4 goals for each other. I feel like they could have. Yeah, I think Kane got all 4 assists for all 4 of Son's goals or something ridiculous. I think they could have a similar kind of weekend this weekend. So I think would that was go the week with Son.
Where I think with other fixtures and how it went, there was some people either Kane or Son, and then those like me that had both then had to pick the captain, and then Son outscored Kane, and I had Kane as my captain. But yeah, it was like 4 assists and a goal. I think Kane got, and I think he got 3 BPS as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Even though Son scored more goals. All right, next question.
So I was just reading Gazzetta. Gazzetta have said in Italy that Ronaldo left training early today anyway, as well. So I think I can't believe I'm going to say it. I'm going to see Cristiano Ronaldo in a Man City shirt by Monday, aren't I?
I'd have come to terms with it by then. Right.
The whole world's going to
Actually,
have collapsed.
game week 1, Brentford score from throw-in. Game week 2, Villa score from throw-in. Is is game week 3 the Aston Villa versus Brentford throw-in battle?
But yeah, we'll call it the long throw derby. Let's call it that.
Flying Dutchman, am I mad? I bought Ailing and am now contemplating to sell Simicast for Livramento before the price rise to have exactly enough to go Ings to DCL and Wilson to Bamford next week. So are you going to be taking a -4 this week and a -4 next week? I wouldn't be taking
Yeah,
-4s
that's brave.
to try
I
and get
do like
value.
Bamford though. If Bamford comes down 0.1 again, down to 7.8 with that run that Leeds have got, Bamford could be a real one that people look to move on to. I think he could be the one. I know they've got Liverpool after the international break, but he may be one that I move Ings for when Villa's fixtures obviously turn game week 4 as well.
I'm not sure it's worth potentially a -8 though, like as part of an end game to a -8. DCL and Bamford to score more than 8 points between them?
You wouldn't put it past them though, would you?
No.
I mean,
You're banking on them both to return.
Yeah, it would only take or one to get bonus points. Sorry, I was just thinking. I wanted to ask you this question, but we can carry on with the questions in a minute. Are you shocked that there hasn't been more talk that Ronaldo might come home, or do you just think it's not feasible?
I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if United have been in talks this week as well. They've just kept it a lot quieter than City have.
I think if Sancho money hadn't been spent,
The money's there, but I think that
I'm sure it is. But
what United
is
are
it
doing,
viable?
they're going right. He's 36 years old or 37 years old. Do we want to get a couple of seasons out of him when we know that in January we can get Erling Haaland and have him for longer? I think that's where the thoughts of United are. I think the moment City make this move, that takes them out of the race for Erling Haaland. Mbappe looks like he's off to Madrid. That takes Madrid out of the race for Erling Haaland. So it basically leaves United and PSG.
I think my outside one for Haaland is he'll move across Germany, and Dortmund fans will hate him. I think he might go Bayern. I think Lewandowski will go. Can you imagine?
Go the other way.
Well, maybe for a swan song, but I think Lewandowski ain't got long left. I think that would be the perfect move for Haaland.
It wouldn't shock me, but I think Erling Haaland knows that to be considered, like, and we've seen it from Lewandowski. Like, we know he's brilliant, but like average Joe, like the casual football fan, will just go, "Oh yeah, he's all right." He's like a brilliant striker.
Yeah,
he's like for the last 5 years, he's been sort of in that top 3 strikers in the world, like out and out strikers.
Easily.
So like, you're taking your Ronaldos, your Messis out of the equation. You're talking about like him, Kane, Haaland in the last 3 years.
Yeah, Haaland and Mbappe. That's been about it.
And
really,
Mbappe, I'd say, is more of a wide forward.
Yeah, and Danny Ings.
And
but
Danny
except
Ings.
for that.
But yeah, I think Erling Haaland won't want that to happen. I think he wants, like, you can see in the way that he is and his confidence, he wants to be known as the best player in the world, and to do that, he has to go and play in the best league in the world, or win 6 Ballon d'Ors and 100 Champions League titles like Messi did. Right,
I was
Sham.
just
So Sham is in the chat. Let's just quickly read. Seeing as I'm top from the three, I'm top from the three. Are you drunk? He is drunk. Yeah.
yeah. Let's
I'm
just
not sure.
ignore that.
I'm sure most people are more interested in my moves than yours. So I'm doing Simicast to Livramento and rolling Antonio captain. Well, cheers for that, Sham.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
no
then
one does care.
everyone else is making valid points in the chat. Fadley said about that the salary could be the problem with Man United with Ronaldo. I
Yeah.
hate to think how much Man City have offered him. I don't even want to
Um,
know.
Flying Dutchman, no -4 this week. I had 2 free. I wouldn't say no then to those moves. If it's only a
No,
-4
definitely
next
not.
week. Um, duh, duh, duh.
Oh my, I was just sorry. I was just looking at someone had just tweeted last time Ronaldo was in FPL, he was a midfielder as well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Um,
I was just looking at that the old game that included a team of Ronaldo, Stuart Downing, Seb Larson, and Michael Essien as a midfield. And
right.
what?
Let's. We've gone through the
That's
questions. There's just
brilliant.
some comments going through about Ronaldo's. We'll say potential transfer to City.
I think
Right. Brighton v
it's got to be
Everton.
done, hasn't it?
I'm gonna say
Uh,
2-0 Everton.
yeah, I tend to agree. I've got Lewis Dunk though, so I wouldn't mind a Lewis Dunk return. I think Brighton are just struggling at the moment. The one thing I took away from, even though they played well against Watford, is Dunk not playing as the central centre half and having Duffy in there. Dunk doesn't look nearly as good as he does as a central centre half. I know that doesn't really affect his attacking returns, but it just makes me worry about that Brighton clean sheet a little bit more. So yeah, I think Everton. But saying that, Everton like to cross, and you would feel like with a five back and the three centre halves, Brighton should be able to deal with Calvert-Lewin a little bit better. I'm going to say 1-1 then.
Right. Newcastle, Southampton. I'm going for an away win. Things at St
Yeah,
James's Park are not looking good at the moment.
no, I think Adam Armstrong might score against Newcastle. Obviously, used to be there. I think it might be pretty much written for him to score against Newcastle and give them. Well, that'll be 3 losses from 3, won't it? And they'll only be above Arsenal probably and Norwich.
And
So
they'll only be above Arsenal. Yeah, they'll.
that'll be
I
it'll be
I could.
interesting to see.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, Arsenal and Norwich both getting a spanking. Which leads us on to Norwich versus Leicester. Yeah, I'm going for another away win. I'd like to see Leicester really bounce back and put the sword
I
to
think they
them.
will.
And this is
I think
why,
they will.
even though Harvey Barnes was really poor the other day, you could put it down to like the shape of the team after Perez got sent off. Like obviously we missed the sending off and lots of the first half, but yeah, it's
Yeah. From what I saw and from what I read online, supposedly they were quite poor before that anyway, and I think it was
mm,
probably inevitable that West Ham were going to get the win. I think it just exacerbated the scoreline, the red card, and yeah, I think Leicester have struggled to really get going. I know they won opening day, but I think it was less than convincing, and they kind of just don't look like the team that I would say finished last year, but they bottled top four again. But that team that we saw at the back end of last season, where they're free flowing football and they almost look to attack teams off the pitch compared to sitting back and defending a 1-0 lead. They'd much rather go for a
he,
second and a third now.
I think it would be interesting to see if they change it up slightly with Perez out to bring Iheanacho in and try and figure out a formation that can get Vardy, Iheanacho, Madison,
Sure.
Barnes all in there, as well as Tielemans.
Yeah. Where there was talk that Daka might come off the one side. I don't know if he'd done that before at Salzburg, but just for his raw pace, I think that could be an option if they wanted to keep the system similar and then just change the personnel within it.
Right, West Ham v Palace. Now, Sham isn't, although he's captaining Antonio, he's not confident on a clean sheet. He said that Palace always score against them, and then showed me like their last 10 games, and they haven't kept a clean sheet against Palace for a long time. I'm backing them
I
for a
didn't know
clean
about
sheet,
that.
though. I'm going for West Ham clean sheet.
I think Palace were unfortunate last week against Brentford not to score. I don't know how Conor Gallagher didn't score that one where he's basically hit the post and the crossbar from about 2 yards out. I'm gonna go with I think this could be a bit of a ding dong. I'm gonna go with a 3-2 win to West Ham.
3-2. All right, the big one, Saturday night football, a decent Saturday night football this week.
For once.
Liverpool versus Chelsea. Virgil van Dijk versus Romelu Lukaku. I'm looking forward to just watching that for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Just those two going up against each other.
It could be. I think it's going to be chaos, this game. I really do.
I think
it's going to...
I honestly think it'll be 0-0.
No chance. No chance. I think it'll be interesting to see if Robertson comes back for Liverpool, because I think the thing Liverpool need to be more worried about with Lukaku is obviously Van Dijk and Matip are going to try and handle him, but it's when he gets off the centre axis and looks to pin a wing back or looks to play on the back stick against a wing back from across, that I think Robertson's more. I just think Robertson's not afraid of that physical battle compared to what I would seen from Tsimikas. So I think if Robertson can come back in, that'd be a huge positive for Liverpool. And I still haven't heard anything on players like Fabinho coming back in. I think he could be, if he was able to come back in for Liverpool, to sit in front of that defence and stop the channel balls between Havertz. I presume it's going to be the same team again. It would be Havertz into Lukaku, unless they're going to change system and play Havertz, Lukaku, and Werner.
Stick Werner up against TAA.
Or Werner to go in behind against Matip is what I thought, and then that leaves Lukaku one-on-one
easily
with
stick TAA, Werner up against TAA, and that could keep, if Werner has a good game, that keeps TAA on his back foot where he's no threat, and rather than on his front foot where he's a huge threat.
I think it's one of those where it's going to be one for the. I don't think it'll be a 0-0, but I think it could be one for the football purists. It could be Klopp and.
It's one of those where average Joe would say it's boring, but we'd really enjoy it.
Right. I'm going to be trying to scramble back from Villa Park to make it in time for that.
Speaking of football purists, Burnley up against Leeds.
Leeds, cracker of an early game on a Sunday.
Perfect Sunday lunchtime game, that.
Yeah, and then Leeds, I think, could have a field day against Burnley. I think it's just stylistically, it's two completely different teams, and I don't see how Burnley really cope with them. I'm trying to think back to Burnley Leeds last year. I feel like nothing springs to mind, but I feel like Leeds must have had the better of the games last year, and I just think, I'm just trying to look now. If we go, I can't remember. Why is it not showing me these? Leeds won 4-0 last time.
Oh, right.
I remember that.
Oh.
Rodrigo got 2. Oh, it was right at the end of the season. It was when Rodrigo came in for Bamford, when everyone was still on Bamford, about game week 37.
Oh, yeah, when when they all got like half the team got let on holiday early, didn't they?
Yeah, and Bamford came on for the last
Sc-
like 5 minutes after
Screwed over
Rodrigo had
like
scored 2.
everyone that had piled on leads towards the end of the
Yes.
season.
Yeah. So
um,
yeah, similar kind of scoreline, maybe not 4-0. I'm gonna go 2-0 Leeds.
cool. Right. Spurs Watford. I'm gonna go 4-0 Spurs.
I
Harry
think
Kane
it
to
could be
get a hat trick.
he better. That's all I'm saying. Now he's in my normal team. I need him to, so I can get another 200,000 places up. I think it could be more than that. I kind of fear a little bit for Watford. I think
I
I think it,
was being sensible when I said 4,
no,
but it could
I'd want to be.
potentially.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to be sensible now that I've got him in my team as well and be really optimistic. But well, we've already seen a 5-0 this year. Let's have another 5-0. I'm gonna go 5.
5-0.
Yeah,
And last but not least, um, on Sunday afternoon, Super Sunday, Wolves versus Man United.
that's an
Um,
easy 3 points for Wolves, isn't it?
it's a potential slip up for United, but
No.
I'm going to back, as I said before, I'm going to back that new partnership with Maguire and Varane. I think the disappointment of last week. I think as the players left the pitch and everything that's been said in the week, um, they're all very it's a point away from home, equaling Arsenal's record with the unbeaten away game run. It's like
Is
such a
it? Is it?
shit.
Is it?
They
Jesus.
equaled Arsenal's away unbeaten away record, so can overtake it this week. But yeah, I can see if United fire, score early, it could be party time for them. I think it's
Yeah,
I think
I think Wolves might struggle.
there's the
I really do.
potential there with if Sancho does come in, the way Pogba's been playing, Bruno was brilliant on the first day of the season. Then they've got the likes of Cavani to come in as well. Yeah, it could be fireworks, and yeah, I wouldn't be selling any United assets this week. Yeah, it hasn't crossed my mind to take out Bruno this week or Luke Shaw. Uh, yeah, I think I'm even regretting not having Greenwood this week. So I think there's potential there for goals for United.
Yeah, I think as you said, the early goal might just flatten the atmosphere at Wolves. I think the longer Wolves can keep it close, then the better chance they have of nicking something. But I think Man United surely has got to be a reaction after Southampton. Can't be. I think it wouldn't be unimaginable, but if Man United drew again and went away with 5 points into the international break, I think a lot of Man United fans would be disappointed and would, could be at that point 4 points behind a couple of teams that you would think you would be competing with this year. So, no, I still back Man United to get a result, but
Yeah, I think
I
it's a case of not falling behind early, because that's what cost us last season. Not really putting in a challenge,
right,
because
because
we dropped points at the start of the season, and then we had that great run up until sort of Christmas time, January, and then started dropping points again. If we can get rid of that
I'm just
slow
thinking
start, then
it won't be as bad because City have already lost. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool both play each other
and
this
I mean
week.
another draw, and that's 4 points dropped, isn't it?
It's 4 points drop, but realistically, who do we see? I mean, Spurs we would think would go to 9. It's only going to be at worst. It's going to be one of Chelsea and Liverpool. If
Mm.
at best they both take 2 off each other. I mean, who else have got? I mean, West Ham and Brighton are the only two that have still.
Yeah.
Unless Spurs go 3 from 3, but I still don't think Spurs will be a realistic title challenger again this season. So it wouldn't be the end of
It's
the
when
world for.
they come in at the 11th hour and sign Ronaldo.
Yeah,
Imagine the scenes.
Can you imagine Daniel Levy trying to do that deal? I've just read that Gazzetta are now saying that Ronaldo's contract in place with Man City was agreed earlier today. Anyway, it will be 2 seasons with the option of a third.
Yeah, 15
So
million over 2 seasons.
That'll take him. God, he could be 39 and still playing in the Premier League. Oh my. They'll just be wheeling him out on the weekend, won't they? They won't play him in the Champions League.
Well, on that note, right, any other business? So, as on the podcast earlier this week, we only got a chance to look at how the mini league was up to the start of the Leicester West Ham game. I don't think there was much changed. This streak, I think that's the Flying Dutchman on 202 points. Game week score of 87. Up top there,
That's
Finton
strong,
Hogan
that.
in second. He got a game week. Oh, in the top 10, only 2 players didn't score 88 points. Everyone else scored 88. We've got Finton Hogan 88 points. He's on 200. Rafilak. I'm sorry if I've butchered your name there. 200 points. Dara Cunningham, only 76 points this week, but he's still on 200. Deirdre Kane, 88, 200. Lewis Chambers, 88, 200. Richard James, we'll ignore the podcast partner. Richard James Neal, 88 points, 199 total. Ryan Campbell, 88, 199. And the Belgian rep from our Euro 2020 pods, Guillaume, 88, 199. I'll be on that screenshot soon, hopefully.
I won't be. I will never be on.
I've got this horrible
I'll
feeling
never be on that.
Sham is going to be battling away to try and be top of that, which would be good because then he can just buy himself a shirt.
I slipped further down. I've slipped further down the mini league. I'm now 209th out of 235, and I'm pretty sure the guy that's in 235th only joined this week. So I'm 209th out of 234. So
well, on that note, you can still join the mini league up until the deadline of game week 5. The code to join is 1PQSLT, and the hyperlink to auto join is in the description of either the podcast or the YouTube video below. That's about it for the week, I think. You joining me on Monday?
I'm supposed to be. If you want to have me back, I mean, you don't have to invite me.
So we'll get you back on Monday then. And I don't know what we're going to talk about. Probably Ronaldo. And I mean, if that move does happen, I think that will be our main topic of conversation.
Yeah, I feel like we might have to talk about that.
I'll have to dig out some stats from when he was in the Premier League.
And I'll dig out some stats from his Serie A time.
Yeah.
Those won't be hard to find.
Yeah, so yeah, if that is the it does happen over the weekend before Monday, or even on Monday, then I'll probably try and just have it all ready to go. And
I feel like there's going to be one more transfer that we don't see coming that we might have to talk about on Monday as well.
There'll be, I think we'll see a lot of movement over the weekend. Like in the last sort of 48 hours, we've seen Saul. It's been
for Chelsea.
United
Koundé as well.
Not
at Chelsea.
United have turned around and said they're not interested, but it could open the door for Kante to leave, which I think United could jump at. If Saul leaves Chelsea and United,
imagine Kante and Pogba.
Kante, Pogba, Varane. Just call us France. And then
Kante, Pogba, Varane,
we'll just get Mbappe
Sancho,
to come.
Fernandes, Greenwood, and a fit Rashford. Yeah, Man City might have Ronaldo though by then.
Yeah, it just won't make a difference. It'll be the
Yeah.
fight for second. But
Yeah,
we'll
God.
hopefully have plenty of transfers, and we'll try and do maybe a transfer deadline rundown ahead of
Maybe
Tuesday's
a little
deadline day.
rating of everyone's business. Could do that. Could have a look
Yeah.
at all the team's business, that kind of thing.
So yeah, we'll keep an eye out for the poll. We'll put out. It'll probably be something very obvious, like who shall we talk about this week? Shall we talk about Ronaldo or not?
Interestingly, sorry, just to jump in, I've just seen Man City have brought forward that deal for the young Brazilian striker that they were signing from Fluminense in January. They've brought that forward. He's going to join over the weekend. So I'm interested to see why they've brought that forward.
Maybe someone, whoever did. Oh, what was that player years ago? That he went to Manchester thinking he was signing for Man United. The Brazilian.
Yes. Oh God, I know who you're talking about. That is a bit of old trivia. The one I've just seen is someone's just tweeted is who can afford Raheem Sterling now? That's an interesting one.
Juve might be able to.
Yeah, well, yeah, supposedly not. From what I'm hearing about Italian football,
It'll be. I think PSG, I think, would come in for Raheem Sterling if Mbappe went to Real Madrid, because that left forward spot will be there for him.
Not. You don't think he could go back to Liverpool? Don't think Liverpool would spend the money?
Don't think so. Like, they've got Jota, Sadio Mane, Salah.
They got rid of Shaqiri though. They need
so they'll bring in Sterling to play on the bench. I can't see that happening. I could see him going to PSG though if Mbappe, if this move for Mbappe does go. And apparently, I've seen that Mbappe this evening has told his PSG teammates that he wants to leave. His dream is to play for Madrid.
For Real Madrid, and it's 100. The final offer's been put on the table now as well, isn't it? 170 million
to play
euros.
For Real Madrid, but Real Madrid don't have any other players, so it'll just be him.
His dream, him, Toni Kroos, and Marcelo. That's just, and
everyone else has buggered off. So we'll talk. Let's talk about all the transfers, and I'm sure we'll get breaking news during the podcast recording on Monday. But we'll hopefully be able to have some things that set in stone that we can go through some stats and decide where we're going to spend our measly 100 million on all these premiums.
And hopefully a Danny Ings hat trick against Brentford to talk about. There we go.
Yeah, and his knighting ceremony. Cheers for those in the chat that joined us. Cheers for those that sent in some questions. The audio for this will be available on podcast shortly. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Podbeans, and all your other podcast places, all that jazz, as Sham normally says. Follow us on Twitter at FPL Happy Hour, myself at FPL Panda, and at JamesCC1234. Or you can, if you want to follow Sham, you can. He's at FPL2 Guys 1 Cup. Please like, subscribe, follow, and all that business. And we shall see you on Tuesday. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Stay safe.